Hello, and thank you for joining this webinar, which we will discuss the course, the BioBeyond course, which is one of the many courses the Inspark Teaching Network is building. And this is part of a project in which the Inspark Teaching Network was awarded a $4.5 million Gates Foundation grant to scale up the adoption and creation of what you might call next generation courseware throughout the United States. And since this funding has been awarded, we have also received other grants from NASA. There's a $10 million NASA grant also as part of this project to produce a series of learning activities for casual learners as we scale and increase adoption. The project was born from a collaboration between the education and technology company Smart Sparrow and Arizona State University. And through this collaboration, courses have been built, and there is a new Center for Education Through Exploration, which has a teaching philosophy of teaching science as the exploration of the unknown, not just mastery of what is known. And that philosophy is baked in at every level throughout the courses that we build. And I'll go into what this actually means as we show the courses. At the core of this project, we are trying to motivate students. So this is essentially some background to the philosophy before we dive in and have a look at the BioBeyond course. And it is very important to mention that what is really unique about this course, about these courses and this project, is the curriculum innovation that is going on. And a lot of work is put into creating a course that is compelling for students and engaging. And that happens at the curriculum level. And you will see very high production value courseware and interactivity. But at its core, we are obviously very interested in increasing student engagement and persistence in order to help students complete their science courses and have a more meaningful experience and learn what science really is and what it's not, especially for a specific demographic of students, the low-income minority first-generation students, 2-year and 4-year colleges around the country. It's important to note also that this is not just a fully online course. The courses that we are producing can operate as a textbook replacement or a turnkey fully online course, but the vast majority of adoptions are actually in blended or face-to-face settings in which instructors obviously are bringing that sense of belonging for students and supporting them and having that human element, which is crucial. So the course itself can be used as material that can replace lectures, that can support lectures, that can be a flipped classroom where students do the activities at home. And it really is up to the instructor to how it is being adopted. And there are many fantastic case studies and use cases that we offer and support instructors by explaining how that is being done across the country. We also like to highlight the fact that we are trying to do more than just videos and talking heads. While we think the MOOC movement has done a lot of good for online education and digital resources, we like to think of ourselves as kind of the anti-MOOC, in that instructors have the ability to customize, modify the material, and own the pedagogy. And that is enabled by a platform, this Smart Sparrow technology platform, that actually gives the instructor control over the activities. They can even open lessons and customize and modify just like they would in a PowerPoint presentation. So there's this idea of pedagogical ownership that is also crucial to this project. You can think of these courses or textbook replacements or supplements as what you might say call next generation courseware, and they sit on top of the LMS. So you might think of the LMS as your traditional current generation courseware, and we're producing next generation courses that sit on top of the LMS. They are these kind of project-based, inquiry-based courses and activities that students work through. And the other crucial part is this idea of a teaching network. So all the courses are supported by a teaching network, and that is made up of institutions, partner institutions like Arizona State University that provide hubs of subject matter expertise, but also researchers and independent evaluators. We are working with SRI Education and also researchers at Berkeley, University of Texas at Arlington, Carnegie Mellon, University of Sydney, and more to evaluate this courseware and provide evaluations for institutions. And last but not least, it's also the instructors on the ground who are teaching with these courses and using BioBeyond. And they provide crucial feedback for us as we continuously improve and modify the courses. And we work very closely with different colleges around the country and faculty to improve the courses and make sure that they are mapped to their learning objectives. And as I said before, all this is powered by a platform, and that is the Smart Sparrow platform that allows you to deploy these courses, analyze this and check in on the student progress, access your grades, integrate with your learning management system, your LMS like Blackboard or Canvas. So a couple more points on the philosophy of the courseware before we dive in. I show you a little bit of the actual BioBeyond course. As I said before, there's this idea of exploration. That's a philosophy, getting students to appreciate that this is what science is about, that it's somewhat open-ended. But it's also in the way we create problem-solving activities and try and have students develop critical thinking. That is a key objective of this project. Also, all the way down into individual screens that students work on and simulations that are very exploration-based. So students do virtual field trips where they need to explore. They are made to lean in, and this idea of active learning is very much a core principle of all the courses that we build, and it's always very exploration-based. The other key component, as I was saying before, is this idea of curriculum innovation. So the courses are always wrapped in a big, compelling question. We call them these big questions. So we have a series of courses. In our previous course, Hab Worlds, we are asking students to try and address the question of whether we're alone in the universe. And that is the big, compelling, overarching question that they will work through. And they have a narrative that they move throughout the course. And these are real science problems. These are authentic science problems at the frontier of human knowledge. And that, for students, hopefully makes the courses meaningful, contextualize their learning, and also motivates them to actually solve it and figure out and persist in the course. In BioBeyond, the overarching question is also, are we alone in the universe, but more specifically, what is life? And in order to answer the question of are we alone, we need to first figure out what life is. Future courses might address big questions like, can we survive an epidemic? So we are scaling currently in this project. We are currently at 57 institutions across the country with over 20,000 students being taught or committed to teach in 2017. That represents almost 200 faculty and, as I was saying before, a very targeted demographic of low-income minority first-generation students. So there's a high proportion of Pell-eligible students in this project as our target demographic. We have a lot of really great feedback from instructors. Feedback like the students found BioBeyond to be entertaining, spectacular, and something they never expected. These are just a couple of nice quotes from some of our key faculty that we've been working with. Habweld's instructor at Bristol Community College explains that Habweld's not only given my students a firm grounding in scientific principles and process, but it's given them a taste of the thrill of discovery as they search for the skies for signs of life. So the feedback from instructors is positive, and a couple more quotes from some students because they really say it better than we could ever explain it. A couple here that we thought were good to highlight for this is unsolicited feedback that we get from students. I was able to open up my mind to topics that have always scared me, and I learned that I could enjoy it and I was capable of doing it. I felt that I was truly learning instead of just memorizing or regurgitating. In BioBeyond, I couldn't understand the biology when using textbooks, but I found BioBeyond to be an engaging way and was able to transform the material. Made the impossible seem possible. You know, this is what a science course should be. You've opened up my eyes, made science fun. These are all the types of feedback that we hope to get when engaging a student in this type of course. So it's not just a series of chapters and learning chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, because it's in a multiple choice exam. We really are trying to create a course that is meaningful to the student and that they actually enjoy and find relevant. So joining the Inspark Science Network is simple. As an institution or an instructor, you can come on board, you can pilot the courses, then we offer evaluations so that you can potentially scale at your institution. We provide a lot of support from trained TAs, which I'll go into, to setting up and integrating your courses, to helping you pick your curriculum and design your course and set your syllabus. And then when your institution is ready to adopt across the board, then there are some additional benefits. These courses are low cost. They're designed to save the students money. They will always be $25 per student, and they can replace a textbook or be paired with potentially an open educational resource like an OpenStax biology textbook. So that ideally, this is going to save students potentially hundreds of dollars. So that's the introduction to BioBeyond. Let's now move into an example of what the students actually see. This is the BioBeyond Learn space. So this is where the students will navigate their whole course. And this is a single URL and a link that will then sit in an LMS if you're using an LMS, or sent to the students or put somewhere else where they can access this one link. And so it's a portal to all the course and all the lessons that they will do, and they can track their progress and their score as they go. So the students have a little introductory video. As I said before, the course is framed in this question, are we alone? The question, are we alone, is one of the biggest questions of science today. It's a question at the center of humankind's exploration of our own origins and our destiny. So the journey begins with a biology boot camp. There's an orientation lesson and then a series of lessons that just give the students the basics and the groundwork that they need in terms of science skills and scientific reasoning. They work through these lessons and then they start the course in a unit, and there are 8 units of the course, which you can see down the bottom here. They start the course in a unit around biodiversity. And so this journey that they're on is not the traditional introductory non-majors biology course. It is starting big. Instead of starting small and going out to big, the course essentially will start big, go small, and then go really big out again. And we have designed it this way because we think it is a more interesting journey to be on in learning these concepts. And so there's the same learning objectives that you would commonly address in a non-majors biology course, but they have just been framed and set in a particular way that we hope will be engaging to students. So the first unit is a unit where students will visit different locations around the world. They will make observations of different species, and those observations will actually be used in a project. And so that's very key with this course, in that most units will have a project that contextualizes all the lessons that they've been doing in the unit. So they'll work through a series of lessons, they will do simulations, they will do activities, and then the challenging, cool part of each unit is the project. And that is where they will have a interesting problem to solve, and that it will, and that will hopefully motivate them in persisting in that particular unit. In this unit, students make their observations for the different species, like is furry, has 4 legs, and then they will use those unique observations that they made to build out their own Linnaean classification. And so they will do this in the project here, in the My Classification project, and they will, and that classification, that tree of life, will actually be unique to them. It will be their own personalized learning asset. The next unit is a series of lessons around speciation, selective pressure, genetics, inheritance, and in this particular unit, there are some nice simulations where students actually get to simulate evolution and adaptation. So they will apply a selective pressure to 2 different populations of finches, and they'll actually get to model the process of adaptation and see it take place. And so the whole unit is framed in a journey to the Galapagos Islands. The third unit, and I'm going to jump into a lesson here to show you, is about what you might call deep time or geological time. And here students are going to visit different archaeological sites around the world, and they will be studying these sites in an effort to appreciate that for the vast majority of time, life has actually been microbial, and that we are just a blip on that time scale. And so these are high resolution images taken by the team at Arizona State University, and the students will be guided through lessons and do simulations and activities and watch videos that will help them to learn and look at fossils and look at and understand what life has been like for a very long time. And they will come to a realization at the end of this unit that, in fact, for the vast majority of time, life has been microbial. And so what binds us all is the next question for them. And that is when we move into the 5th unit, called Into the Cell. And from here, I'm going to actually dive in and show you another lesson. This is a lesson that has been developed with a well-known medical digital animator, David Belinsky. He's well known for his Harvard Inner Life of the Cell animations. And we took his models and animations, and we actually tried to take it to the next level and have it not just be videos, but a full-blown interactive fly-through experience into the cell. And so in this particular unit and these lessons, the students have a series of missions that they need to complete. And when they're in the cell, they need to work through these different missions, and they need to move around in the cell. And so here we can see that I'm actually inside the cell, and I can fly through and navigate this cell. And it is through exploring and trying to solve these missions and the different activities that I will learn and understand the inner workings of the cell. So for example, here I've captured a food molecule, and then I will actually break it down with the protein. I can see this process take place in the production of pyruvate. And so that is one of the first activities that I need to do inside the cell. And there are a series of different missions that I need to work on. And I'm getting feedback as I go along. But most importantly, I am, through a short activity such as this, I am addressing a very large number of potential misconceptions that I might have. And the idea is that you, by interacting and getting feedback and exploring with the cell, you will actually learn a lot more than you could just by reading through a chapter and looking at static 2D images, for example. So here I've created the energy I need, and that's the next step. I can fly in. I'll just show you the last little piece. I can fly into the nucleus. Now, this is a really nice learning moment, I think, for students, in which they can see what DNA actually looks like inside the cell, and then take it even further and start to look at the process of replication and RNA. So that should give you a sense, hopefully, of what the students do in this unit. I'm going to close this and jump back out. Students can obviously, as they go, they can track their progress and their score in individual lessons, and then also how they're going in individual units. They can also see their due dates, and the lessons will allow the students to start and then complete a portion, close the lesson, come back, and continuously work on the lessons at their pace. Because obviously we are working with a lot of students that may be non-traditional, and they need to we need to kind of meet them where they're at and give them the autonomy and a self-paced course that they can work on at their own pace. So that's the Into the Cell unit. The next unit is a series of lessons around the signatures of life. And here students will actually be looking at what the signatures of life are. And they will look at the chemical basis of life, gathering energy, respiration, photosynthesis, genetic blueprints, cellular replication, genetic replication, and making proteins. So there are a whole series of simulations and lessons the students will work through. And I will show you one of these simulations as I move in and show you the instructor side of this course. The next unit is where we come to the beyond of BioBeyond. So we've looked at the biology, and now we're going to look at the beyond. And so students are asked, well, what does it mean if we are alone in the universe? Well, we probably should take care of this planet, and they will then go into looking at a global scale ecology, and they will specifically be looking at climate change. And really interestingly, in this unit, developed with the team at ASU and researchers there, the students will actually work through a series of lessons, model different scenarios for CO2 emissions over the next 100 years, and address the controversial topic of human intervention into climate change. So they will have to actually analyze, synthesize, and design a plan, and they will set a goal, a maximum global warming goal for the next 100 years. And then they'll need to submit this report that they have developed. And that's essentially the project that the students will work on that binds all the learning and the lessons that they've done in this 7th unit, Blue Planet. So the final unit in this course is the Mission Beyond. And this unit is anatomy and physiology, but the students will learn all the concepts and look at and learn anatomy and physiology through the lens of trying to get a group of astronauts to Mars, successfully get them to Mars. And that's the project that they work on throughout this unit. And the lessons are going to help them to learn anatomy and physiology by looking at what prolonged human spaceflight does to the body. And so this is the way in which we contextualize all these learning objectives and give them something interesting and inquiry-based or project-based to work on. So that's the full course. Now I'm going to flip into the instructor side of things just to show you a little bit about the resources and support and tools that instructors have when they are using BioBeyond. So this is the workspace. So we like spaces. So the student learn space, and now we're in the instructor workspace. And here in the workspace, I can see all the lessons that are in my course. So it's maybe one particular section that I'm teaching. I can set the start and end dates for individual lessons. I can remove them if I'm not going to be using them. And I can also set extensions for students and customize my course. If I'd like to go further, I can open individual lessons. and open the authoring environment and even modify the content. Apart from that, I can also look at reports and summarize and easily access grades. And I can break this down by class summary, get all grades for all students and all lessons. But I can also break it down by individual students and individual lessons. And so this instructor mode allows the faculty teaching to actually familiarize themselves with the lessons. And we provide a whole bunch of resources like a lesson-by-lesson cheat sheet, an instructor guide that has learning objectives, and so many other resources that are designed to help the instructors familiarize themselves with the material. One other key component to this course, and especially important for an instructor that may be using this BioBeyond for the very first time, is that we also provide an online discussion board tool called Piazza. And this tool actually has TAs that are trained and are provided as part of the $25 per student. And these TAs can support you and your students, and students can go and ask questions, and they will get technical support and content-related support 24 hours, and typically students will get a response within 15 to 30 minutes after posting a question there. So that is a very, very important resource that we've found has been very, very useful for instructors teaching with BioBeyond. So a quick mention of the instructor mode that I was talking about. This is what it looks like, and obviously, as an instructor, you can actually jump ahead, so you can access any screen within an individual lesson. And so I'll close this though for now and just show you a little bit of one of these lessons. This is a lesson called Genetic Blueprints, in which students will build a double-stranded DNA. And so they will have already done quite a few activities and questions around nucleotides and genetics. And now they actually get to build out their own double-stranded DNA helix themselves. So I imagine I'm a student that is maybe not really sure what I need to do on this activity. And so I'm going to start dragging these nucleotides in. And straight away, the system can actually recognize that I've had 3 unconnected nucleotides in the area. So it's going to guide me through this problem-solving activity. And so for a student, they are going to get scored on how many hints that they are provided. So if you get many, many hints, then obviously you're going to get a slightly lower score. If you're able to get these questions right on the very first go, read through the instructions and do things and get it right on the very first attempt, for specific screens, then you'll get full grades. And only a few grades are deducted for every hint and feedback that's provided to the student. So here I'm going to try again, and I realize I need to actually connect the nucleotides. Once I've connected, if I try and move ahead again, the system's going to recognize that I now have connected the nucleotides, but that I do not have 10 nucleotides connected together. So again, it's going to try and guide me through this problem-solving activity. And the idea is that while students are working on this, maybe in their own time, it's as if they've got a one-to-one tutor that is going to be adaptively providing them feedback as they go. So I'm going to try and connect 10 nucleotides here. Okay. And so then I'll be asked a series of questions. The instructor mode allows you to apply the correct answer on an individual screen. So not only can you jump ahead, but you can also apply a correct answer, and that will allow you to move ahead. So I'm going to move ahead because there's another part of this simulation that I would like to show you. So I'm going to keep moving ahead, and so students will be working on the history of the discovery of DNA. And they'll be looking at the structure, and there's a shout out here to Rosalind Franklin, for example, and then Watson and Crick. And I'm going to continue to move ahead to the final part of this simulation now, in which the single-stranded DNA that students built previously has now been flipped. And I'm going to actually connect the nucleotides, and they will be able to see, as they do this, connecting the correct nucleotides, they're going to see the double helix structure form. And so this is an example of a simulation in which it has a lot of really great intrinsic feedback that comes out. So an exploration-based activity, guiding them through the problem-solving activity, but then also this feedback is built into the process of them working through the activity. And the really nice part is that if a student were to mismatch base pairs, they will actually get feedback here in terms of the model, the radius. They will see the bulge. And if they try and move ahead, the system can recognize what they have done. It will reference an activity that was done previously and a screen that we looked at previously in the lesson, and will give them the feedback that they need and tell them that they have a mismatched base pair so that they can go back and remove this and complete the activity successfully. So that brings me to the end of this introduction to the BioBeyond course, our non-majors biology course, and the second course of a series that are being built as part of the Inspark Teaching Network. So I hope this was useful, and we encourage you to get in contact with us. And if you'd like to pilot or explore the course further, just let us know and we will give you access to the course and the demo and the instructor resources so that you can see whether this would be a good fit for your course. Thank you very much for joining.